Excellent. So I think I will show myself just for the beginning. So I think we should start this presentation. My name is Helgi Ingason, and with me today is Haukur Ingi Jonasson, my friend and associate from Reykjavik University. And our main roles are being academics, teachers and trainers at the Reykjavik University. And mainly we have built up and run a program in project management called MPM, or Master of Project Management. We were asked to give a presentation here today under the topic Hot Topics from a Cool Place, which is a very broad definition and allows us a lot of flexibility. We could have talked about just about everything under that topic, but we have chosen a special treat for you today. We are going to share our personal experience from last year, where one of the two of us, that is I, was hired as interim CEO of a big company in Iceland. And that brought with it all kinds of speculations and serious critical thinking. And Haukur Ingi was my wingman in this project. And we are now going to share our experience from this project. Well, I saw it as a project. It was an extensive change project. So this is what we will do. I'm going to start by telling you just a little bit about the company in question. We will dig a little bit deeper into that as we move into the presentation. But this company is called Sorpa. It is a non-profit organization. It is owned by 6 communities in the Reykjavik area. 6, it's Reykjavik, of course, which is by far the largest community. But then the other communities, and all in all, I would say that 75% of the population of Iceland lives in these 6 communities. This is a company that was formed and started operation in 1991, provides waste services to 75% of the nation. Operating drop-off centers, recycling centers, and receiving center, and last but not least, the largest landfill in the country. So this is the company, this is the case that we will be talking about, and we will tell you a little bit more about this company and its situation in the beginning of last year as we move into the presentation. Haukur Ingi.
Yes, so a little bit about ourselves. We come in towards project management from 2 different angles. Helgi is an engineer, industrial and mechanical engineers from Norway, actually. That's where he did his PhD. I, however, I'm a theologian, and I have a background also in clinical work. I'm a trained psychoanalyst, and I have a strong background in philosophy. And this has kind of sparked our cooperation. We have been playing with applying humanities and social sciences to engineering, and vice versa. And one of the things that we have done is that we wrote a book a few years back called Project Ethics. It was published by Gower, which is now Taylor and Francis, or Routledge, and it's called Project Ethics. And basically, what we are going to be doing in this presentation, we are going to try to put the ethical dimension into perspective, as I am operating as some kind of a coach or a guide, or a mirror for Helgi Thor, who is taking on the very challenging task of dealing with kind of an ethical situation. He will explain more with regards to this company on many levels. We also, part of the book was something we called the PET, or the Project Ethics Tool, which is kind of our reference as we go through this case. And we would also like to add, Helgi, go back a little bit, that we are the kind of the authors who wrote the ICPME Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct a few years back. And now you can change. So the Project Ethics Tool, it looks at all decisions that we make from on different levels. So we could say that at the core of its every decision making is the individual. And in this case, it would be the project manager or the project leader. And then the next dimension is the team, the organization, then this host society, and all of those agents, the individual, the project manager, the project team, the project organization, and the society through law and regulations, etc., and permits and for operations and things like that, are decision-making agents. And they are making decisions that influence or can have an impact on each one of themselves and all of the others. So let's say the project manager makes a decision that will influence the team or have an impact on the team, the organization, the society, and vice versa. If the organization makes a decision, it might influence the project manager, the team, the society, etc. So all of those four at the top are active decision-making agents that are able to influence and make decisions. But there are others that have not a say in this case. So we see the future generations, they are not an active agent when it comes to making decisions. We are basically making decisions for them. And also the animal world and Mother Earth, or the planet, Mother Nature. So every time we are making decisions in our projects, either as project managers, project team, organization, or the society, then we are kind of deciding what to do, if to do it, and both from a technical perspective, but also and mainly it's an ethical decision-making process. So, and in our book, we created this pet. I'll give you maybe the next. And here's just an example. We kind of challenged the reader or the decision-making agents to go through different questions. So at the top, you see the project manager, the project team, the project organization, the host society. And then the blue to the right, that's the future generations, the animals and nature. So that's basically the same leveling as you saw in the slide before. And then we go into the depth of classical theories in philosophical ethics, and we try to make the project manager or each one of those agents really contemplate their decisions from an ethical perspective. And so they can, that's the engineering side, you say yes or no, but the main thing is, can you justify your actions? You might have to justify it to yourself, to your children, to the project team, to the organization. You might have to justify them in court, etc. You might have to justify your decisions as a society in the community of other societies. Let's say, you know, in Iceland, with regards to Iceland, we might have to justify our decisions as a nation among other nations. And more, as you can see, we wrote this 2012. We have been thinking about this for many years, but more you see that the blue components of this future generations, animals, and Mother Nature are becoming more and more prevalent in our decision makings. So if we look very briefly at the theories, are you sure as an agent that the project outcome will contribute to the long-term well-being of all of those things? Those to the right, the project manager, the team, etc. And that's how we go through it, like step by step. We are not going to go into depth with this regards in this lecture. We are going to move on and give you a like simplified take on it. So we start with the project leader. So when Helgi called me and said, "Hey," and we have this thing. We are academics mainly, and we teach. But occasionally we like to go out into society and take on something, you know, taste reality, take on a project to learn something new. And when he called me, I of course was faced with. I mean, it was an ethical decision making that he had to make. Should he take it on, and why should he take it on? And he had to justify it with me. and then everything that he would be doing in this project. I mean, he would have to justify to me because we are colleagues. I would not have as much access to him for the next 6 months or whatever, etc., etc. So we are going to start on this layer, which is the project leader. Helgi.
Yes, yeah, it started with a phone call in January, late January, if I recall. I remember I was sitting at a restaurant in downtown Reykjavik. I took the phone and it was a former student of mine, of our, in fact, and he had become a central person in a large municipality and a board member of this company that we are talking about. He told me about problems with the company. He asked me if I would be willing to come as an interim CEO and lead something he called financial restructuring. And I know why he called me. He called me because 10 years ago I did a similar thing. I went for 8 or 9 months into a company called Reykjavik Energy, which is the largest energy company in Iceland. And I led a change project in very difficult circumstances. So 10 years had passed, or 9.5 years, and well, the phone had rung in between, but I had said no to such requests. But I was kind of interested in this request. This is a very important company. Everybody is talking about the circular economy and the waste triangle, and this was a challenge for me. 10 years had passed, and I thought that this could be a good time to stretch my wings and test the theories in the real society. Also to learn something and bring something with me to academia, and maybe investigate something that could become a source of research, maybe, who knows. But the first call I made was, of course, to Haukur Ingi to ask him what he thought about it. It was supposed to be a short-term thing, actually. It was supposed to be over by June. So to lead a financial restructuring, the company was technically bankrupt. Well, they didn't have enough money to pay off loans. So some things had to be done very fast. So financial reconstruction, what is that? I mean, what are we talking about? What to do, what not to do, and if to do, how to do it, and etc. And of course, it was a very limited time from February or late January to June. So what can I do in such a short period of time? So all kinds of things went through my mind. I started thinking about what could be, what could be the ingredients of financial reconstruction, reconstruction. And I, of course, had read the media. I knew what in the company.
Okay, Helgi's, there's some weak signal there.
Yeah, I thought it was just me, but it's for everything.
No, okay. Helgi, we are struggling with hearing you.
Almost every night. And so it occurred to me that the first thing I was thinking of the situation, there was this. Can you hear me?
No, hardly, but now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so I continue. You just give me signal. You know, I'm in the country, and I don't have a very strong internet. So, but we will do our best. So I will go briefly over it. There was this financial gap. So somehow we needed to find money to pay off the debts. There was, of course, no question that we had to go through some cost cuts. Try to look at the operation and find ways to save money. And then it was quite obvious that we would need new capital. the owners would have to bring in new capital. One of the main sources of the problems was a huge project that was nearing its end, and I will come back to that project later on. And that project was kind of underfinanced, and it was kind of obvious that the owners would have to come in with the capital for that project. There was a need to build up trust and consensus in society. There was the very fierce debate, very fierce critic towards the company, and it was in bad shape, so to speak. So we needed to do something, and do something fast, to build up some kind of a trust. Of course, we would need to look at the tariffs. Not a popular decision for the politicians to increase tariffs, but in a way that was, we soon found out that was kind of inevitable. And of course, maintain operational at the same time, keep the ship afloat, so to speak. So do this heart surgery and keep the patient alive in the meantime. So these are some of the things that crossed my mind when I was thinking about it.
Yeah. So basically, if you go back a little bit, Helgi, again, one slide back, this one. So when Helgi took it on, and he asked if kind of for permission if he could take it on. I was, of course, concerned. I mean, he is my colleague, my friend. So he was faced with all kinds of ethical decision makings there. One of my key concern was that he would be exposed to taking on a project that had been very much in the media, being kind of, he steps in a time of turmoil for the company, and there was the kind of the social discourse, or what was it was kind of a scandal situation. So one part of this project was to take on make a factory, or like there were all kinds of things that were kind of complicated, that would probably dispose or expose my friend Helgi Thor as a project manager in this case, or as the leader of this case. And so if you go now back, Helgi, one slide. So the big question for him was in the other direction, was should he take it on, and if he takes it on, and what to do in that situations, and then not what not to do, and if to do it, how to do it, and if not to do it, then what to do instead. So he was faced with all kinds of bleak decision makings, letting go of people, major reconstruction of processes and things like that. So I was a little bit skeptical if he would it be a wise decision for him personally to take it on. So that's kind of the first thing that we talked about, and then we move. So projects are things that we, and programs, there's a current state of things, or state of affairs, and in Sorpa there was something going on that Helgi didn't know about at that moment. So basically, the project that he took on, or the program, so to speak, was to make a major change in the company, and the vehicle for that is the projects or the programs. That's how we meet the demand for change, and so it's kind of a dialectical thing, and then we go circles, and the quality circle is a well-known thing in engineering, to go in circles, and yeah, and then we move on, Helgi, a little bit. And so my concern with Helgi taking it on was that he would be kind of exposed to by taking on something that was like a mission that was not he would not be able to accomplish, or it might probably undermine his reputation or things like that. So we talked about it quite a bit, if he should take it on, and then he decided to do so. And so the next level is the team that he found to work on the project with him. We were also concerned about if they would be exposed to some risks, ethical risks, so to speak, with regards to repetition, with regards to workload, with regards to variety of things, level of professionalism. And so, and Helgi, if you take on now, talk about the team a little bit. Okay. Yes, but back again, yeah. So when you bring in a team into a project, it's kind of the same thing. And you are starting to kind of unfreeze the organization as to make the change, because the organization cannot maintain itself unless it does something about the situation. So the organization is kind of in a self-preservation mode before the change, and then the project or the program will bring the company into a self-alteration mode. And this will expose the team and all the employees to step probably out of the comfort zone. And so there are risks in both sides. There's a risk by not doing anything. That's the risks of self-preservation and holding too much onto your self-identity as you have defined it in the life of the organization. And there's also the risk that Helgi would be exposing the organization to, which is the risk of self-alteration, the risks of self-transformation that would both implement or have an impact on the organization that's itself, the team, and each individual within the team. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we continue. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, there was underlying request or question about the cost cut down, and that inevitably led to the question of laying off people, and the question whether the company was overstaffed, and what about the efficiency of the operation, etc. So pretty soon I started thinking about that. I was wondering if this was the case, if the company was overstaffed, or if what was going on in terms of the company. So I, in my first days or weeks, I was, of course, I did some staff meetings, but I was mostly working with the people at the head of office, where I was working in a community of maybe 20 or 30 people. I might add that the company in whole is like 120 or 30 people. So in this close circle that I was working with, I did realize soon that something strange was going on. There were very strange dynamics in this group. And I noticed, I did notice some strange communication, some very strange dynamics, and to put it, I have to say, strange decisions were being made, and something fishy was clearly going on, but of course I couldn't put my finger on it right away what it was, but I realized, when you come fresh into a new situation, you look at it from the outsider's view, and you momentarily see if something strikes you as being odd. And I put on these three figures from very famous TV series or films that where we have an office situation that is very strange. I'm sure all of you remember Horrible Bosses, and everybody has seen The Office, and then the most famous teaching video of all times, Bloody Meetings with John Cleese. And I have to say that I experienced some very strange management meetings in my first weeks, but I didn't say much. I was kind of trying to understand what was going on, And I tried to use project management. So basically, I tried to do some kind of a work breakdown structure for these weeks that I had. You know, I was supposed to leave in June, and I thought, okay, what can I do? What can I do? I can't start laying off everybody here, because then I will end up alone, and I will leave in June. And what good will that do for the company? So I need to find out if I can work with these people, and I need to get the message through.
Helgi, now you're out.
I created a task force of the managers and the specialists. Heyrðu í mér?
Yes.
Can you hear me now, Haukur?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where I lost you, but I'll just continue. This list on the left shows what I did, my first steps in the first weeks, creating this task force, trying.
And now we cannot hear you.
Get the people together to assess the situation with the management, and also the understanding the situation. And last but not least, we created a financial task force to do a very deep financial analysis. Are you still with me?
Yes, yeah.
Haukur, are you with me?
I'm with you, yes. Yes.
Okay, so I'll continue. This is just to show you that, of course, I tried to use the project management methodology in this project. Haukur, Ingi, you take over now.
Yes, so basically what we are trying to show here or illustrate is that that when Helgi takes on the project, and we are talking together about it, and as he goes deeper and deeper into it, I keep pushing him to think in terms of ethics. I ask him, he's about to make some major decisions, and I think, or I challenge him to think, what will be the outcome for you if you make that decision? What will be the outcome for the team? What will be the outcome for the organization? What will be the outcome for the society? What will be what is your duty, in all of this? And what is your duty not to do? What is the duty of the team? And what rights are you protecting? What rights are you protecting as a CEO of the organization? What rights is the project team to protect, etc. And the same with the project organization. I mean, this is a company that is kind of a public company, so you are dealing with money from the municipalities, and so this is the taxpayers' money. So the project organization itself has a major responsibility, and as we know from all over the world, in Iceland included, is that organizations like that can become pretty corrupt. There is a lot of money involved, and there is a lot of kind of tick for tat kind of potentialities. You invite your friends to become your to charge the company for taking on projects, etc. So there's a lot of things to consider. So I was challenging Helgi to think, based on our book, what is the responsibility of the organization truly? What's the duty of the organization? What rights does it have to protect? What actions should you take on as an organization that will benefit the well-being of as many people as possible in the society? And how could you make this organization excel as to being a virtuous organization? So in all of this, there are all kinds of technical challenges that Helgi was looking into, which is kind of, he comes in handy there with regards to the technical risks. and he hired people that could deal with that and found good advisors. But I was trying to push him to think of the ethical risks involved. I mean, he was about to lay off people. How are you going to do that ethically? How are you going to, tell the truth about that fishy thing that's going on, not only technically, as with some change of processes and things, but also what would be the ethical way of bringing that message. So how to move the organization with that kind of a strong integrity. That was I was always kind of mirroring him and trying to thrust him to think in those terms, as well as in the technical terms. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just to tell you a little bit more about this company, it is a very important company in Iceland, serving 3/4 of the population, and in this segment that is becoming more and more important. I found out that maybe one very important source of complexity in my work was to deal with the ownership of this company, because it is owned by these 6 different municipalities. It has a 6-member board, and I found out that the owners had very different views regarding the future and role and responsibility of Sorpa, and that did not make it easier for me to do what I had to do, and in a way that kind of reflected the discussion in society, and so in a way Sorpa was a kind of an orphan, so to speak. It's strange to say it, but I feel that's how I feel. This very crucial and important service provider was a kind of an orphan in some kind of a political turmoil, and in a way it still is. So that is one of the problems that Sorpa will have to deal with for the future. And I don't have time to go into the depths of the operation, but I just wanted to show you the complexity of the operation, receiving wastes from households and companies, in drop-off centers, in recycling centers, and also in a large receiving and sorting plant. Also running a charity-based market for reusables called the Good Shepherd. This is an operation that is becoming more and more important as we move higher up in the waste triangle. So, and then what was going to happen in year 2020 was the startup of this biogas and compost plant, and this is the huge project for Sorpa that had become a problem and was the source of continuous media attention. All these problems and the delays in this project. And then we had a landfill site, and traditionally Sorpa was a landfilling company, and that was through the years had been the basis for its operation, to receive waste and dig a hole and put the waste down in the earth. But this is of course changing and has been changing, and in a way I found out that I was kind of participating in the life of Sorpa through in a year where everything changed, and I will come back to that later. I didn't realize that when I started with my little nice financial reconstruction project, but I did find out that this was becoming something more. As you can see with these, I don't know if you have noticed these babushkas. We are seeing more and more babushkas as we move through the presentation, and that is kind of to reflect how I realized that the project, or might I say a program that I had taken on, was in reality had to do with something much more complicated and more extensive than some financial reconstruction. So the management systems, that was one aspect of the equation. What to do with the management systems, and I can just tell you that I did staff meetings. I met all the people when I started, and I had no problem with talking with the people. I did, you know, I took on shifts in different parts of the company just to get a better understanding of what was going on, and also to try to, you know, kind of gain the trust of the staff, to show them that I was not some guy in a suit sitting in my office. I was also a part of the team, and I was working with them. I was not more important than any of them. I did pretty soon realize that this company was not overstaffed. It was not overstaffed at all. But I did find out that it was not entirely correctly staffed, so to speak. I found out that crucial technical knowledge was not a part of the company. It was held by consultants. So consultants were having a great time with Sorpa. So they were working for Sorpa, not much supervision going on, and they were sending their high invoices every month. And they had this critical knowledge that was crucial for Sorpa. And I realized that you know, a chain is not stronger than its weakest link. And I found out that the weak link in Sorpa was the ownership of crucial knowledge to kind of manage this total conversion of the company into the future. I also found out that there was a very strange focus on information technology. This company was certified according to ISO 27000 standard, and it had gone through extensive investments in all kinds of equipment, and it was kind of fixed in you know, following and meeting all kinds of regulations and protocols that did not make any sense from my perspective. And I never understood why Sorpa was had committed itself to work according to this standard. And my conclusion as time went by was that instead of outsourcing and instead of buying the services of all kinds of consultants, we needed to insource, we needed to strengthen the company, we needed to stop, you know, lay off some of these consultants and hire knowledge people that could lead Sorpa into the future and build up the knowledge within the company. And just to continue on these management systems, when I came to the office, they showed me the certifications on the wall. The quality manager showed me, I think that they were certified according to 4 ISO standards. So everything was supposed to be in good order, and all these management systems being audited regularly. You can see the standards here: ISO 27, ISO 14000, ISO 9000, and then a 4th local standard on equal pay. I asked the managers, I asked them, is this management system active? Does the management system really help you in your daily work? Does it help you to provide services according to the expectations of the clients? And I got very mixed feedback to this question. I felt that they tried to be positive. They tried to be, you know, answer me politely, and they told me, they gave me an answer they thought I wanted to hear, but I realized between the lines that that they were not. The real problem was that the management system was not active, and instead of being a tool that helped the company to do better, the management system was in fact a burden for the company. And so without going into details, I'll just tell you what we decided to do here. I decided to go through a major simplification, start from scratch, assessing what people think, assessing what are the needs of the people in terms of quality management systems. We needed to increase the focus on risk management. We needed to make management review active. That was not the case. Management review was not active, and I would say that the management system all was not active. It was inactive. So in fact, we started from scratch. And when you implement a quality management system, you start by asking the basic questions. You define a quality management policy, then you map the main processes, and you do a total reconstruction of the QMS. And this is what I started in autumn, and this is what is going on in the company right now. So, and also before I conclude, we did change the organization of the company. Previously, you can see that the organogram on the left-hand side shows you a very typical departmental company with these different departments and not much interaction, not much flow of information or flow of manpower between the departments. And in fact, finance was not visible in the organogram. And they had these service departments that were kind of neutral and were not doing much good for the company. So we changed this to a process-oriented organization. We shut down a couple of departments, and we created a new department called the CEO's office, with specialists that reported directly to the CEO, focus on marketing and technical evolution, on sustainability, on communication and society, activity in the society, human resources, quality management and safety management and purchasing. And we formed a special financial department. And the focus, it may be not so obvious from this organogram, but I think you can see the change. So we are moving to a process-oriented and project-oriented organization. And that is a part of a cultural revolution in the company, where we try to work together in this company that consists of 120 people. So we can work together. A mechanic in one department, he can also provide services to another department, etc. So, Haukur Ingi, you can take over now.
Yes. So basically what we can see, again, one of those paradigms, it's kind of a dialectical process that's going on. You know, Helgi is trying to define or identify the project, defining it, and then as he goes deeper and deeper into it, it's kind of he needs to make alterations and make changes, and all of this includes some risks. Some of them are technical risks, some of them are ethical risks. And so that's just to keep that in mind. So basically what I'm saying is that I'm always trying to look at this from a mega perspective, while he is working like a working bee in dealing with all of that. So yeah, next one. So the project society, Iceland, we are an island, but no one is an island, someone said, and we are trying to maintain our idea of ourselves, that we Icelanders are very good at, we portray ourselves as being a very good society, very sustainable society, very advanced society that respects human rights, etc., etc. So when it comes to the host society, that is kind of the host for Sorpa, there are also implications that need to be kept in check. What Helgi was doing, how would that reflect or get influence the wider society, and how would how could Sorpa and what Helgi was doing kind of help us to have a more solid understanding of ourselves, or contribute to our idea that the Icelandic society is a good society? And one of the biggest challenges in a project like this is that, because it's owned by the municipalities, is social politics. And so Helgi, maybe you tell us a little bit about that.
About
the politics involved.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, one of the main, maybe most important source of problems was this big project, by far the largest project that Sorpa had gone through, but yet a crucial project, a crucial step in stopping the landfilling, and instead of landfilling the biological waste, taking it through a process where you would produce compost and methane, biogas and composting plant. So this project had been in turmoil for a long time. There was negative public discussion and there was mistrust. And I'm going to just showing you a few articles in the newspapers. You don't understand Icelandic, but I can just tell you that these are negative news, very negative news. Very serious discrepancies in information. The management of Sorpa did not do their supervision. The 5 billion kroner project that nobody wants to talk about. And here you can see pictures of the mayor of Reykjavik and the mayor of Kópavogur, the board, president of the board of Sorpa, etc., etc. So negative discussion. And so this had become a hot political potato, and there had been, you know, what happened before I was hired was that the previous CEO was laid off because there was mistrust between the board and the CEO, and some people said that it was not enough that the CEO went away. The board should also go away, but at least this step was taken to lay off the CEO. So I can tell you, I think I should just continue, Haukur, to tell you a little bit about this this project.
I think our time is out, actually.
Yes.
So basically, the wider implications of the project and for Sorpa in general is that it's contributing mainly, it's safeguarding the future of the Icelandic society and maybe the society, you know, the animal kingdom and the Mother Nature. It's about sustainability, isn't it?
And I can tell you that, I mean, the project was under the limelight, and there was heavy pressure. And in the beginning, I got calls from media people almost every day. They wanted me for TV or radio or newspapers, and we had to deal with this somehow. And we were always in a kind of a reactive mode, always trying to deal with some negative news, answer some questions. But I realized that we were in the midst of a total change of Sorpa. We were creating a new future for Sorpa. I'm sure that everybody knows the waste triangle, where the lowest part of the triangle is landfilling. You can see the spike down here at where I have my pointer. That Sorpa was kind of moving upwards by the implementation of this biogas and compost plant, moving up to energy recapture and recycling and reuse, etc. So this was all happening, this total transformation of Sorpa, and the startup of this new plant was a part of this total change of Sorpa. So what I did here was I hired an experienced project manager and a cost controller to strengthen the project team, to assess the situation and bring me first-hand information about what was going on. And I did a continuous reporting to the board, week to week. We had continuous board meetings, and I strived to keep them up to date about everything that was going on. We defined a new public relations strategy. We tried to be proactive instead of reactive, tried to explain to people the importance of this new station, the new future that we are creating. And I hired a consultant, a public relation consultant, and later we changed the organization and hired a person to deal with communication in a more modern way. And this was in fact reflected in the organogram that I showed you earlier. And it was of course very easy to speak publicly about this project, leading to reduced CO2 emissions corresponding to 90,000 tons per year. which is in fact 10% of the official goal of the Icelandic government of reducing emissions until 2030. And just to put this into perspective, it equals taking 40,000 gasoline cars off the streets. And methane that we produce can be sold. The compost can be used. But at the same time, it means that every inhabitant in the area of Sorpa needs to change his habits, and we need to do this together. And now we are moving to the end, Haukur.
Yeah, so basically what we are trying to show in this is that the ethical backbone in what Helgi was doing comes in handy as a way to understand a little bit better, or quite a bit better actually, what your actual goal and obligation is when you take on a project like this. And so it's our attempt to kind of try to introduce into the world of project management a more solid decision making. I mean, to go into details would be complicated, but just to keep it in mind that that there is, I think actually one way to explain project management would be to say it's a kind of a sub field in the practical sciences, and it's about doing things right and doing the right things right. So basically we are back to ethics. So to think of the ethical dimension as a backbone in whatever you do is something that I think would benefit all of you, both for to benefit you as a project manager, your team, the organization, the whole society, and then ultimately future generations, animals and nature. Even though they are out there and we don't feel so much, I mean, we are maybe concerned about our children, our grandchildren's, but we don't care so much about what comes after that, but I think we should. And so that's kind of a very challenging venue where the technical and the ethical kind of need to merge, and they are merging.
Okay, so the last slide is just the final slide to conclude. I mean, what did I learn? On a personal note, I can just say, in hindsight, it was an incredible privilege to be a participant in this total transformation of Sorpa. I really loved working with the people. It was not a problem to talk about the people. People just want you to be honest. People want to know what's going on, and people want to do good. People want to be participants. So that was not the difficult part of this assignment. The complexity mainly is because these were several projects going on at the same time. There was this pressure from the media. I did notice that as time went by, and I should tell you that I didn't leave Sorpa until the year shift. So I was supposed to leave in June, but I didn't leave until end of December. And in the end, in the last month, nobody from the media showed the slightest interest in talking to me, and that told me that something good was going on, since the media was not interested anymore in any. There was no scandal. There was nothing interesting going on in terms of politics, etc. But the complexity was here that we had owners that have different perspectives, different visions. The governance, in some way unclear. And in a way, it told me the old truth that, I mean, you need to know where you are going. That is the prerequisite for every project, to know where you are going. And if there is not consensus about where you are going, then you should maybe wait, wait until everybody is clear on where we are going. I will bring this experience into academia. I did write a diary. So I didn't, every day I wrote my diary, and I think I have 400 pages of text. What happened during these 11 months. So I need to find a way to make some kind of use of this in a academical context. Anyway, so I thank you for your attention.
And for that, you need some critical glasses, because when you're in the midst of it, you might not see it all. And that's why we are trying to reflect from it from a wider perspective.
That's right.
That's brilliant. That would be amazing content for teaching, not only students, but project managers that are starting, that can learn from your experience a lot. I'd love your conversation. I'd love your keynote. It was great. Thank you very much both for being here. If I can keep a sentence in my head, the doing things right, the right way, I think summarize everything. It's just we have to do things right, but we have to do it for the right reason, on the right ways. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So we will have a short quick Q&A. If anyone wants to ask you something now, if they don't want or are shy, they can write it down and you can answer later. So if anyone wants to say something, you can just use the Q&A or raise your hand and I will give you, enable your talking, your microphone. I can see Tom there in the attendees.
Good, okay.
He's not
Mhm.
saying anything. So I'll send you the questions later, okay? And the
Very good.
recording, of course.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for being here, for accepting
Bye-bye.
our invitation. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.